Trust, lies, and secrecy. That is the perfect way to describe this latest episode of ReZero Season 2. There is a lot that happened in this episode, a lot of questions, a lot of mystery, but one of the most fundamental things I think many are going to talk about besides the Rosewall stuff is definitely the stuff with Ekidana and how she peeked into Subaru's very mind, his very heart, what he truly believes in. That, I think, is one of the most crucial moments of this episode, besides the topic of trust, secrecy, and lies, is because Ekidana basically knows now that Subaru is not from their world. He is from an alternate world, which is automatically a big twist. And the funny thing about that entire sequence of events at the beginning of the episode, Ekidana didn't really even talk about it. She never really dived deep into it whatsoever, but she pretty much implied that because of how she was able to recreate Subaru's past in absolute faithfulness, she got to probably see everything that led up to where he's at right now. Peeped into his mind and see that he has probably returned by death and what he's went through, deaths, etc., which is just a very interesting turn of events, because now it's fundamentally clear that she knows now, but she didn't say anything. And it makes you wonder, how does the Witch of Envy, how does Satala feel about that, of the existence of return by death being known by everyone, like at least known by Ekidana, and it's not just Subaru and her anymore, it's known by another witch. That has to be something very aggravating for her. So we know for a fact that she has been slightly aware of certain things that, has been presented because of just how she interacted with him. But now, this episode makes it fundamentally clear that she definitely got to peep into a whole lot of personal information, got to see it firsthand, because, she even says, like, I saw you say, "I'm sorry," and starts to make fun of him. So she got to see stuff that, is obviously not a part of the world Subaru currently inhabits. It's from his past, from another literal world. But okay, so let's talk about some other events that happen within that first conversation, and that is Ekidana trying to convince Subaru that his parents were not really like that. Now, this is something incredibly important that definitely needs to be discussed, and which I'm going to get into. So what Ekidana was pretty much trying to say there is, like, it was from your heart, it was from your memories, of what you believed in, basically. She was trying to imply that what you saw there, what you saw within this past of events, like, you getting to see your parents again and all that, what you saw there could potentially not be as it appears. What that means is that his parents could be actually different in real life. So that was what she was trying to make. She's like, you thought that your parents were very accepting of you, like they accepted him for his flaws, they were understanding, they tried to help him out, etc. And Ekidana's like, this is all your imagination. It's very apparent that it's likely that your parents wouldn't have accepted the way you are. You never know. Like, you're not there. You didn't really get to talk to your parents, so you did not get to have that conversation of, saying farewell to them, goodbye. But at the very least, what you think is how you feel like your parents are, but it doesn't mean that's their real personality. For all you know, your father probably hated you, your mother probably despised you. You don't really have any idea. And that's kind of what Ekidana was trying to do. She was trying to insert, like, Subaru's feelings of not trusting his parents, not trusting his own memories, not trusting what he currently sees. She was trying to kind of wedge that in there, trying to say what you're seeing wasn't actually true. But Subaru flat out denies her. He's like, no, look, I have 100% faith in my parents. My imagination cannot even begin to understand just how amazing they are as parents. I know for a fact that they are good people. But even then, Subaru does believe in this 100%. It still does not change the fact of what Ekidana said. When she reconstructed his past life and his parents to absolute faithfulness to his memories, it doesn't change the fact, though, that that was just Subaru's depiction on them. So nothing will change that. Even if Subaru is correct and his parents did love him, cared about him, and all that, it does not mean that's how they really are. Or there could be some slight differences. There might not have been a similar, interaction between the characters that we saw in last week's episode. So that is some food for thought. That does make you wonder now, like, holy crap, like, she's trying to make him not trust his parents, which that gets into the topic at hand, trust. So we kind of find out now why Subaru wasn't able to remember Ekidana whatsoever when he first met her. She ripped apart his memories, basically removed her very existence from his mind and all that because she did not trust him. And this gets into a pattern throughout this episode, and kind of a pattern that's been going on throughout ReZero, honestly, even since Season 1. It's been a pattern that has presented itself. For example, when we see this episode, we come to find out a little bit more about Roswaal and his weird trust in Subaru. He has no reason to have as much trust as he has in Subaru, and it's very unnerving. And even Subaru goes out of his way to mention this. Like, why do you have so much faith and trust in me? It makes no sense whatsoever. So let's actually take a moment to dissect that. So, if we go by what Subaru said, he's like, last time you saw me was in the Capitol. I made a fool of myself. I was a self-proclaimed knight. I was trying to say I was Amelia's knight. I made a fool of myself in front of everyone. I made Amelia look bad. I made myself look bad. I made you look bad. I made literally everyone just like look bad, honestly. And you, of all people that have such a high status, and you were supporting Amelia, and I was technically employed under you, and I embarrassed you, you have trust in me? That makes no sense whatsoever, because when you look at everything that happened throughout Season 1, nobody had faith in Subaru. That was the big point of the conclusion at the end of Season 1, is that nobody believed in Subaru. He had no worthy, accommodations. Nobody believed in him. He had to build up his own reputation after he already tarnished it. He had to do so much to be able to have people admire him. Wilhelm and all of them, he had to do so much. But for some reason, Roswaal 100% had faith in him since the very beginning. And that's why Subaru's like, that does not make sense whatsoever. You have no rights to be able to have faith in me because I was garbage. I mean, I'm not now, but even then, it doesn't change the fact, though. You didn't get to see those events. You weren't there for those events. It could be definitely misinformation. How do you have full trust in me? It makes no sense. Roswaal's faith in him is completely undeserved. And so Subaru's just like, why? But then Roswaal dives in a little bit deeper, and it gets a little bit more scary, and also keeps with the theme of unnerving as well. He starts to say, I knew about everything. I knew that about the witches' cult and how they would probably go out of their way and attack the village and go after Amelia. I am very aware of this. But you know why I didn't do it? One of the reasons is I just didn't want to encounter the witches' cult. But number two, I did it because, look, you and Amelia now are viewed as really great people. You're viewed as a knight, a hero of the village, of the people, and Amelia is also viewed as a worthy candidate for the throne. Because of your actions, because of what you did, and me not going and stepping in to do things, it resulted in this situation. And so he's like, yes, my condolences for the lives lost, but look how it turned out. And pretty much he's like, the ends justify the means. That's pretty much what Roswaal was saying. And Subaru, obviously, in that moment, why he said, do you understand what you're saying right now? In that moment, he was obviously thinking about Rem. Not just the countless deaths that happened throughout Season 1, but he's thinking about Rem. Because thanks to Roswaal's actions, how he could have potentially done something, he technically, in an indirect way, is responsible for Rem. If this is truly how he is, if he's not lying to Subaru and he has 100% faith in him and everything, he pretty much sat back and let Rem die. That's what he did. And that's why Subaru started getting very angry and really enraged, and then why he looked at Ram and is like, how do you feel about this, of how Rem was sacrificed, a pawn and all that, and Ram obviously has no idea about Rem, no emotional attachment anymore, which is just absolutely sad, and I'll talk about that in a second. But the point is he was enraged, because it pretty much meant that Roswaal could have done something, but he didn't. He sat back, and because of his actions, it sacrificed Rem, and he thinks the end justifies the means. But however, Subaru can't really get angry at Roswaal, and the reason for that is because no matter how he wants to scream at Roswaal, there's nothing he can do to change it. But on top of that, Roswaal has no idea, any memories of the actions of what he did to allow Rem to be in the state she's in. So even if Subaru wanted to blame him, he has no idea who Rim is. So there's just nothing he actually can do about that whatsoever, which is why Subaru was probably able to completely calm down. When Ram mentioned that she has no idea who this person is, it all came back to Subaru, and why he started to slightly calm down was because it's not Rosewall's fault technically, it's not Ram's fault technically, they just don't remember. So there's just nothing they can do. But it still does not change the fact, though, that Rosewall's intentions to sit back and let it happen did lead to the conclusion of Season 1 in the beginning of Season 2. So that's, yeah, it's kind of scary. So Rosewall pretty much admits that he knows a lot of things and all that, and it's creepy. So this gets back into more trust. Now, despite all of what I just talked about, he mentions that he has no trust in Amelia. That one, I think, is going to stand out. Because you would think someone that is wanting to back Amelia, wanting to go as far as to back someone for the royal candidate to be basically the ruler of the capital, why would you not have trust in that person? You would think you would have trust. But he makes it fundamentally clear he has no trust in Amelia. He only has trust in the people that were in that room. Himself, Ram, and Subaru. That's the only people he trusts. He didn't trust anyone else. And he excluded Amelia completely, which is automatically messed up. That goes to the secrecy thing I talked about at the beginning of this video, and then also trust. And it's just like, wow, he's really not wanting to convey these certain things to her, and how he let this happen. It's just like, that's kind of messed up, dude. But it goes much further than that. After everything that happened here, he starts talking to Subaru. He's like, okay, as a reminder, don't tell Amelia about our conversation. And Subaru's like, of course I can't tell her and all that. He, like, starts to calm down. He's like, I can't say anything. And Rosewall convinces him. He's like, even with you being enraged, you still know that you can't say anything to her, and that the ends basically justify the means. And that is kind of like saying Rosewall won that conversation. It's like, look, Subaru, you're mad at me for basically saying ends justify the means, but look what you're doing right now. You're still satisfied that even though you had this outrage of me and everything that happened and all that, and Amelia, what's going on with her, and how she was, excluded from this, obviously you're not going to key her in on this information because, if you did, it would disrupt a lot of things and cause a lot of problems that honestly many don't really need. And so ends justify the means. And that's a fascinating one too, because this goes back to the conversation that Subaru had with his mother in that, flashback we had in the previous episode, because his mother confronted Subaru and was like, hey, Subaru, I'm going to give you some homework. I want you to look at the journey, but also think about the ending. The ending is very important. And Subaru's like, wait, you basically saying the ending is the only thing that matters? And the mother's like, no, that's not what I'm saying, but you'll have to figure it out on your own. And that's kind of playing into what was happening in this conversation with Rosewall and Subaru. But okay, to kind of stop there with that, because it's pretty obvious now that Rosewall won the conversation, let's now talk about Ram and what she was doing within this episode and how she presented herself to Subaru. So, right before everything that happened with Rosewall, Ram talks to Subaru and is like, there is another faction that is in Sanctuary that actually doesn't want to see Sanctuary liberated. They want to actually remain in this type of environment. They don't want to go out because this is all they know. This is their home. They don't know how the outside world is. They don't know how unforgiving, uncaring the outside world is, and so they rather remain stuck in this capsule, this prison pretty much, besides anything else. And so there is a faction that is actively working against what Garfield and the others want, so you need to watch out. As this continues, most likely they're going to actively go out of their way and target Amelia. Amelia definitely will be a major target, and then she goes along to say that don't trust a lot of people, don't trust anyone. She kind of implied that to herself. The way Ram went about that conversation, she was implying, don't trust me, don't trust Rosewall, don't trust Amelia, don't trust anyone. Don't trust anyone whatsoever there is lies about. And that makes you wonder, why would Ram say that? See, she was pretty much going out of her way to kind of inform Subaru about the situation he was about to walk into with Rosewall. She's like, don't trust me, don't trust him. Why would she say that? Is there some guilt there? Is she feeling guilty about everything? Or is there something else going on? Whatever the case may be, though, that is definitely playing with the theme of the episode. Now, another thing, since we're on the topic of trust, this is another element. We have Amelia in Subaru's conversation, which also ties in with Garfield and Subaru's conversation towards the end. So Amelia, we get to see her in a very, very scary state. She has, like, really despair eyes. Like, she has Subaru's facial expression that we have known since the very beginning. She's scared, she's shaking, she's worried, she doesn't know where she's at, she's confused. And when you just see her reaction at the beginning of the episode, it's scary, because it's the first time we've really ever seen Amelia like this. We've really never seen her in a face of just, like, fear. Like, we've never seen that. And just seeing her like that is just so unnerving, so different. We're like, holy crap. And it's honestly, like, the first time that Subaru's probably ever really had to interact with Amelia like this. This is the first time he's ever seen her like this. He's never seen her at her lowest, like she is right now. He's always seen Amelia be strong, maybe confused, and yes, she has died in front of him, but he's never seen her in a process of fear and being scared. He's never seen this. This is a completely new side to Amelia that he has never seen. She has never showed this, and so he's learning another element to Amelia's personality that he never thought he would actually see. And despite all of this, he's able to help her out. He has faith in her. And in the moment of weakness, he's like, look, you will have to be the one to do the trials. I believe in you. I have faith in you. I trust in you. I know that you can do this. I know for a fact you can overcome these trials. And Amelia basically starts to say, like, that's kind of mean and all that, but she's like, thank you. You know, I believe it. After you trying to give me words of encouragement, how can I not do it now? After you saying I can do this, she's like, I can definitely do this. And she picks herself back up and wants to continue taking the trials, regardless of how scared she is. This kind of shows an element to Amelia's personality, that she's like, thank you, you know, I'm glad you're here, because we got to think about something. She has been kind of isolated. Amelia is very isolated at this moment. Puck is not around. Think about this. Like, he hasn't been around since, like, the first episode of Season 2, for whatever reason. And Amelia even talked about this a few episodes ago, that he's not responding, he's not there. She doesn't really have any idea what's going on, but Puck is not doing anything whatsoever, and because of that, she is alone. And the only person she really has in Sanctuary that she can rely on is Subaru. So that interaction when she reaches out to grab him was kind of like an instinctual interaction she has with Puck. She's able to have someone there to talk with, interact with, and be her actual self with, and Subaru is that person right now. So when Subaru was like, look, you can do this, it gave her, you know, I guess, a fire in her heart. She realized that she can do this. So when Garfield brings up the conversation, like, does Amelia really want to face these trials? Does Amelia want to do this? Like, does she? It makes Subaru start to question his faith, his trust in her, and wonders, was Amelia actually saying what she wanted to say? Or was she putting on a mask, a face, a brave face, when in reality she did not actually want to take the trial and she wanted Subaru to take it? That right there is a big moment. It brings in some distrust between Subaru and Amelia, and that seed has now been planted by Garfield, that, like, does she actually want to do this or not? So, as you can see, there is a theme that is throughout this episode. It's really good because of that, and it makes you start to wonder about these character interactions and what's actually going to happen next. So, okay, with all that out of the way, I guess let's talk about the Ram stuff with Subaru, because I kind of left that on a cliffhanger earlier on in this video. So, it's very quick, but it's the first time we've actually seen in the anime Ram and Subaru kind of talk about Rim. And obviously, we knew kind of how Ram was going to interact, because she has no idea who Rim is. Nobody does. The only ones that really know who Rim really was is Subaru at this point. And so because of that, it makes a lot of sense why Ram would act like she did. She's like, a name of a random stranger won't have any effect on me. And obviously, those words sting a lot for Subaru. But at the same time, it probably is, like, very unfortunate, because we know how much Ram cared about her sister. She loved Rim so deeply. I mean, those tears she had in Art 2 of Season 1 on episode, like, 4 were not a lie. She cried so deeply and was about to straight up kill Subaru right then and there because of Rim's death. So we know that Ram has a lot of love for her sister, but to just see the drastic shift, the 180 of personality, is just super sad, because it's just like, if she really knew what she was saying and could remember Rem, she would instantly regret the words she's saying. But obviously, she doesn't know what she's saying. But it's just super unfortunate because, like, you know, she's saying this about someone that she lost her horn for. Like, she lost her horn for her sister. She kind of has her entire personality like it is because of her sister. And now that she's gone, it's just like, wow, it's like a piece of yourself is gone and you literally have no idea she is gone. And it's really sad. It's just really sad that Subaru is the only one that remembers and is carrying that by himself. He's carrying that weight on his shoulders to the very end until one day he's potentially able to save Rem. So that actually gets into the next part, the final moments of this episode, and that is Elsa. Elsa's return. It's been a while since we saw Elsa. Elsa literally was, the last time we saw her was around like episode 2 or 3 of ReZero Season 1. I'm not talking about the director's cut. I'm just talking about episodes. It's been a long time, and it's nice to see her back, but at the same time, it's also like, how is Subaru gonna get out of this? Because, like, he's got to deal with this stuff at Sanctuary. He's got to deal with Amelia and her trials and all that going on, and now he's got to deal with this. He's got to deal with a timer of Elsa being there and killing Frederica and Petra, and we don't even know what happened to Rem, but you could probably assume. It's just like, holy crap. So now he's got more on his plate to deal with, and why is Elsa there? Is she actually there to finally get back at Subaru because she says, you know, protect your bowels for me? You know, is she there just to finally get vengeance? Who really knows? But the point is that Elsa was there, and now that brings up so much more difficulties, because this time, he doesn't have Reinhardt. He doesn't. And this time, he doesn't have Amelia either. Think about this. Amelia is trapped in Sanctuary. She can't leave Sanctuary until the trial is done. And we don't really have a timer of when Elsa does this attack on the mansion. Maybe a few days, but we don't really have a timer. The point I'm trying to say is that Subaru's kind of on his own. He does not have the help of Rem, does not have the help of Roswell, he does not have the help of Amelia or Puck, he doesn't have the help of Reinhardt. So how in the world is he supposed to take down Elsa or get her away? This adds so much difficulty to the situation, because now he has to worry about the mansion, but even the village as well, because Elsa might also direct her attention to the village, and he has a whole other witches cult situation going on. So he is pressed for time. Now, speaking of which, I do want to talk about that final sequence, some of the background scenery that some might have missed, and it was very important, because the scene definitely wanted you to notice it, but it wasn't just trying to shove it into your face. When Subaru was walking through the mansion, obviously it was a very creepy tone, a vibe, and all of that. When Subaru was walking through the hallway, he noticed that every door was open. Like, it was dark inside, but every door was open. And when you see him walk back and look in the door, there's nothing. And he's like, what's going on here? I mean, he starts to worry about Rem. The question is, why was every door open? That is a major question. Why was every door open when he got there? And where was Rem? What happened to her? What was her situation? Did she also have an unfortunate end to Elsa? But, yeah, I guess, the last scene to really talk about is the stuff with, the Lollyhag. That is, I've been waiting forever to hear that, and just seeing her interact with Subaru, and Subaru's like, wow, I never thought I would actually get to see it, but a Lollyhag is right before me. And it's even funnier when she calls Subaru Bartosu, because, like, that is the nickname that Ram gives him, and obviously she has no idea what Subaru's real name is. She just heard Bartosu. So her saying Bartosu as his name is even more funny. It's kind of like what you would see from a granny, that they would call this nickname to this kid, and that's what she was doing to Subaru. But okay, that's pretty much about it, though. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.